So this is our new normal, at least for a little while. I am not able to get into the school. I have found a small whiteboard, and we're going to do the very best that we can to work off of programming CNC machines strictly in the virtual sense. It's absolutely not my favorite way of doing it, but it is what we're going to do. So you're going to see in Module 9 this information, this video. It's also on YouTube. That's where you're pulling it from. But also you'll see the turning number 1, face OD and turn, face OD and part off project. I'll have a submission for you. You need to write the code, then you need to run it through an emulator, some kind of simulation, and then you will need to submit it to me. I need you to submit it to me in kind of this format with your program number, 4 digits, then turning number 1, and then your name afterwards, not your initials. First name, last initial, or first initial and last name. One way for me to be able to denote who you are. These are the tools we're going to use, tool 1, tool 4. This is our OD turning and facing tool. This is our part off tool. It is 125 thousandths wide. Our stock is 1-inch diameter 6061 aluminum. This is what our finished part looks like. It's from a piece of 1-inch aluminum stock. We're going to turn 50 thousandths off the OD and make it 950. We're going to turn a second diameter down to 800. It's going to go back 300. Overall part width is 500. We've got to turn it back an extra 125 so that we can get that, that part up blade in there so we can part that thing off. Okay, I've already got a couple lines of code on here. If you're on about page 2021, this is where CNC turning programming is going to start. It kind of walks us through a couple of options here. Like I say before, or I've said to you before, learn my way and then you can develop your own way from that. So if we want to jump straight over to page 21, page 20 at the bottom shows an example of a drill. That's one way to do that program. So that's a pretty stripped down version of programming for that one. So we're going to jump straight over to 21. We're going to follow this program format through most of this. So the only thing I want to change on here is that we don't have it going home. So I'm going to push some of this up and move it around just a little bit. Okay. So probably before I did anything, I would go ahead and do a G28. So here I've got my percent sign, and I've got my O, 4 digits, and then I've got my turning number 1, Justin, W, all in parentheses. Okay. So I've got O, 4 numerical digits after that, G28 for home position. Tool 1 is T101. That means I'm going to index to turret position 1, and I'm going to use the work offset of 1. So T1 is turret position, O1 is work offset. Okay, so you need to keep that format on our programs. So T1 is turret position. That means rotating this way or rotating this way, and then O1 is the work offset that we're using. So T101 is our tool. So it is going to do our turning, our facing. Next one that I actually inserted this in here. So this is why this is in blue. It doesn't follow the format that's on page 21 exactly, but it's pretty close. Now, the reason why it's not on page 21 is because typically your machine is going to kind of default to these things. It's going to default in absolute, and it's going to default in rapid mode. Rapid mode. So those are modal. The only time that those are not going to be like that when you start up your program is if you ended in a G1 move, which is typically not the way that we do it. We normally rapid home. Or if you're in an incremental move, which we're typically not ending in, even if we're running in an incremental movement, we're going to end in a G90. So I went ahead and put those in there just for safety's sake. But 99% of the time, I don't think that you're going to need to use that in there. There's nothing wrong with having it in there. Redundancy is safety. Those things are good. Next, I have G50. G50 is explained on the 4th line of code in your book on page 21. And what that is it's maxing the spindle speed so that it goes no more than 1500 RPM. Because I don't want my spindle to spin too fast. G97 tells my spindle to just turn to NRPM. You're going to figure up that RPM based upon the information that you have using your MachineCog Pro, your machinery handbook, the internet, phone a friend, however you choose to do that. And 3 then also turns the spindle on. So at this point, we are ready to start motion. Well, we've done a little bit of motion already as we indexed around and turned our spindle on, but we're going to start moving our tool around and we're going to get our part cut. Because honestly, I have done this on the screen 50 times and I have just kept redoing it because I forget something every time. Typically, you and I would be standing in front of each other and I could say, hey, let's edit this or let's change this. This place, in this setting, we're just not able to do that. So I am feeling your pain is what I'm trying to tell you. I know that this screen is not huge. You should be able to zoom up into it some. I hope we will do the very best that we can in this. We will no doubt get better as we go. We're gonna all just have to kind of work through this as we go though. Okay, so we've got to take our part, we've got to face it off. So what we're gonna do is we've got all this started up, we're going to G0, rapid movement, to X, 1 inch, Z, 1 inch. Now we're gonna go ahead and go Z, 0.1. At this point, I'd probably turn my coolant on. All I did was go from here to here. Now I'm going to do one more move, and it's going to be Z0. Now I'm going to do a G1 move, and it's going to be to X minus 0.030, and I'm also going to put a feed rate on it, feed 12. Now, I went down past the 0 point of the spindle because I've got some tool nose radius. So let's just imagine this is our insert. And so say this is the center line of our part. If I don't go beyond this point to about here, bring this down to here, I'll be left with this small scallop after it faces my part off. So I've got to go beyond that to clear out that scallop from my part. So that's really the only reason for doing that. 30 thousandths isn't something that I calculated, it's just something that I know is normally enough to take care of me from there. So I faced it off. My next move is going to be a rapid movement, G0, and I'm going to go up to X 0.950, and I'm going to go to Z 0.05. So I've positioned myself up to about right here. So I can go ahead and go across here. Now I'm going to go back to G1. I've already got a feed rate. That feed rate stays modal. Okay. So now I'm going to go Z minus 0.630. Because earlier I already told you that our part off tool is 125 wide. That's our standard part off tool. 630 will move me the 500 that I need to get plus my 125, and I gave myself just 5 thousandths to just have a little bit of safety there. So at this point, I have I've faced it off, I've turned my diameter back. I'm gonna go ahead and just feed up this face. So I'll go to X 1 inch. From there, I'm gonna go back into a rapid move. I'm gonna go to G0, and I'm gonna go to Z 50 thousandths, put myself 50 thousandths in front of my part. Then I'll go to X 950. That's for my, sorry, it's not where I want to go next. I want to go down to 800, yep. So I'll go to X of 800. So now I have faced it off. I've been wrapping it up. I've turned back here, fed up, and I went across back here, and now I'm ready to cut this 800 diameter, and I'm going to feed it back 300 thousandths. So go back to G1, then go to Z minus 0.3. Still, anytime I'm using G1 until I change that feed rate, I'm going to stay there. So I'm okay with that. I didn't call out any kind of surface finish on the print. So we're going to leave it. We're going to leave it alone right there and just let it be a little rough on that finish. So after I've done that, I'm going to go ahead and go up X of 1 inch. We'll take care of getting out of that. I'm going to go ahead and put these there so you know that those are zeros, not O's. So here I went up this shoulder, got out of the way. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to G0, and I'm going to go to Z 5 inches, and then I'm going to do an M01. Okay, so I went 5 inches back so I could be ready for my tool change position. M01, continue the program up here. We'll go to T404. That's our part off tool. Okay. And we'll just do really the same things here. If I wanted to, I could went ahead and put another G28 right there. That would have been fine to do that. It doesn't at this point really doesn't matter. So I've got T404. I knew that my tool was far enough away. If I didn't, if there was some concern, I could put a G28 there, but would have brought my tools home again to change that position. T404, part off tool, and we're going to go ahead and make sure we're G0, G90, just to keep that kind of format going. G50, S 1500, G97, S, and again you can figure out that. Turn the spindle on with M3. G0, X 1.0, Z 1 inch. As you can see, we're just duplicating. All we're doing is copying and pasting. Z.1, M8. Got my coolant on. My coolant turned off whenever I did my optional stop. And so I've got to 100 thousandths. I'm going to go ahead and do a rapid move back minus 625. Okay, so I'm back 625, and now what I've got to do is, Z minus 0.625. Now what I've got to do is I've got to go ahead and feed down to finish that part out. So I need to switch into G1. I'm going to do something similar as I face this part off here. I'm going to go to X minus 30 thousandths, but my feed rate's going to change. I'm going to go to a feed rate of 3 thousandths per revolution. Now normally I would use some type of a pecking cycle, but this is our very first program. Super simple, stripped down, bare bones, just to get the feel. We're trying to build some muscle memory here. So we're going to feed it 3 thousandths per revolution, real slow feed rate going down through there. After we've parted it off, we're going to go ahead and do a G0, X 1 inch. And then from that point, we could do a couple of different things. We could do another G28, probably the easiest. And then M30. And then a percent sign. That is your first program. Now, just looking at that, it's dry erase on a whiteboard. There's probably something that can be tweaked, changed, modified, or made better in that. So you can feel free to do those things, but what I want you to do is I want you to turn me in a program that does this motion. Face, turn OD, turn to step, part off. If you do not remember all the codes that are on page 23 in your fundamentals book, that should get you started. So that is your assignment for this week, is to write me a program. I have practically written the entire thing for you. You can do this. This isn't a big deal. So that's going to be module 9. You'll see the part print in there, and that should be it. So you'll have a submission in that assignment and submit it to me, and we're good to go. So see you next week.